I think we'll do this short presentation by Michael just to have a general update on the situation with our IT and other stuff. So Justin, it's great that you're with us, and we will move on to the presentation by Michael to give us a short update from the beach on where do we stand now with the blockchain as well as with a little bit about settlement, a little bit about the mobile app, so that everybody is on the same page. And of course, we're looking forward to the report by Prime Minister and his plans with Liberland. So it's great that we are all set. And I believe, Michael, I think we're kind of ready to start.
Okay, I will share my screen. So do you see a presentation? I mean, sort of. Oh, hello. Yes. Do you see a presentation? Do you see now a presentation?
Yes, we see
Yes.
very well. Go ahead.
So, okay, so this is presentation about the state of the nation. This is our video, which we will skip. This is my Google one, which is causing me trouble. Where is the presentation? Okay, we're not going to skip it.
I'm quite excited that we're actually getting Ron Paul to give us a greeting for the anniversary event. So that's quite exciting, and that we might have actually some very exciting news from Argentina at the same time, from our friends. And our Congressman Evan Lutra has been just on a visit to Argentina. And, I hope we will be able to also announce some exciting new partnerships with other big blockchain projects and ecosystems, many of which are coming. Of course, the biggest one, again, is the Tron ecosystem, which is coming down and also supporting the whole event, which is pretty exciting. So, Michael, I hope we will be able to skip to the second page.
Getting to it.
Okay, great. So, floor is yours. And by the way,
Okay.
yes, we are announcing the launch of the official debate about the draft of Liberland Constitution. We're, I think, very close to putting the document together. Michael has done a great job, and I believe we will even share the link for the people that are taking part of this call to be the initial reviewers of this, I would say, final draft, which is up for debate of the Constitution of Liberland. So exciting times before the 10th anniversary. Go ahead, Michael.
Thank you. So I will indeed share the link after this presentation. We have reworked the Constitution based on the feedback of the first Congress, based on the feedback of the people. We need to have a simple Constitution, as the president would say, iconic. It needs to be something that the people, the kids of Liberland, will be learning at school. So it must be a legal document, but it also must be something that rallies the nation, behind which people can unite. And this is what we are trying to deliver here, and what we will deliver with your help. The inspiration is obviously the US Constitution, which works very differently than most constitutions. It's more of a flow of text and ideas than a legal paragraphed text, so that makes it more readable. The core and the main point of it is to set forth a few principles of liberty, core principles: property, self-ownership, and non-aggression, which means how to deal with each other. So how to deal with yourself, how to deal with the world, how to deal with each other. And the state has one role only: to be the public protector of property. And all else, everything else is in principle derivable. So all else is in principle derivable by legal analysis, by simple logic, usually by courts, and jurisprudence. Obviously, we will get Liberland jurisprudence, Liberland lawyers, Liberland academicians, and so on. This all requires a strong judiciary. The Constitution delivers. It is the first of the three classical powers. We do hold on to that system. The Judiciary is decentralized in the sense that it is founded on communities. We can have private courts, but there is an order in this, and then that is in the Supreme Court. So there is one Supreme Court that's appointed by the government, namely the Congress, for the purpose of protecting property, right? Like enforcing those three systems: self-ownership, ownership, and non-aggression. And how this is done is that the Supreme Court is the supreme hierarchically that the Supreme Court is the hierarchically highest court. That's how it is done. This unification, so that the system is consistent, so that people can always find themselves in it, so that it remains simple and user friendly. And that's the uneasy job of the Liberland judges, right? So why is it so important to have a judiciary? It's very simple. It protects people from wrongdoing by each other, so as to prevent the need to resort to violence, and also protects from state power, namely when that state power is applied in ways in which it shouldn't be, it goes against those principles or against derived laws derived from those principles, laws derived from previous judgments, or from international law. So we have a much weaker executive. Executive and judiciary are hand in hand, because you cannot have judiciary without somebody who has a gun, usually, or some other symbol of force, and stands there and says or else. So the court will say whatever it says, but those are gentlemen in suits. In real life, they need also somebody who is, let's say, imposing and who can give physical authority in the physical world, right? That's the executive. We call them agents. That's your police. Those people are under the cabinet government supervision. Cabinet is the supreme organ of the government, as we are going to say soon. So there is no chaos. There is no decentralization to this, except for one thing, which we will talk about at the end. But in general, we want to keep this monopoly on force in general, okay? And the executive is in service of judiciary in the sense that judiciary says what is justice and executive enforces it. And that means that it also is strictly limited by law. I don't think there needs to be more said about that, except how does one get a law in Liberland, right? Through this direct meritocracy. That means through you, citizens. So you as citizens, those of you who are citizens, can in Liberland directly influence laws. Is this just a theory? No. We have recently passed a law. It's not yet in force. It will soon be, because there is this 2-week time after the referendum succeeds where people are getting used to the new law, right? So we're in that period now. So this already works. By referendum, you get laws. So there is no need for you to give up your power in the name of some representative for 5 years. We don't do that in Liberland. Also, this is called meritocracy, not democracy, for good reason, because do you see that coin on the right side? That's the Liberland merit, right? That's a like physical representation, how it would be. Liberland merit is your voting token. Liberland merit supply is how you get to vote by this supply.
We lost you, actually. You disconnected your microphone.
I think it's frozen.
Can you hear me?
Now we do.
Okay, cool. So we have, so how do we get laws through direct meritocracy, right? You heard that, right, Navid? You heard that?
Yes,
Correct,
yes,
correct.
you started off with meritocracy, yes.
Very good. So next to the direct meritocracy is representation. In Liberland, that is strictly voluntary. That means you do not need to give up your power, but you can. And it's not give up, but you can delegate, because You usually, as a citizen, busy citizen, don't have time to watch everything and take care of every political matter that you understand it perfectly. So you appoint like semi-professionals or people whom you trust, rather, fellow citizens into Congress. That's what we're here doing, right? Voting is also by meritocracy, so you vote for them. And the Congress has various special powers besides proposing laws, not adopting, by the way. Proposing, this always applies. The most important one of which we're going to talk soon, shortly, is to appoint the prime minister for something called a cabinet. We have a prime minister. He's now here with us, so that's not a theory again. The prime minister appoints 4 ministers. Constitution doesn't allow more than that. So now we have more, but we will have to do something with that once the constitution is in force, or we will have to adopt the constitution in such a way that there are 6 ministers, and that's up to you, dear citizens. Cabinet is responsible to the people. Cabinet heads the executive. Cabinet manages day-to-day life in Liberland. Senate, last institute we're going to talk about. Senate is special. It is composed not of voted representatives or something like that. It is composed instead of people who supported Liberland when it needed the most. And that means basically investors, and it's an element of corporate governance. It does not propose laws. There is no unelected bureaucracy in Liberland like that. It instead has the powers of oversight, so it can repeal laws. And it elects the president. By the way, fun fact, citizens can repeal laws as well, directly. I didn't write it here, but it is here. It is there. It is in the constitution. That is called democracy, and it's negative. So, and that means you vote by your head count, not by merit. Yeah. So there is this element too. But the main organ for repeals is the Senate. And the Senate does one more thing besides checking on all budgets. It's very important, but it elects the president. The president has those powers here. The president now is the head of government, but the president soon will have only those 4 powers. So the president will diminish, whereas the prime minister will increase in importance. The president can represent, is the highest organ of the state to represent it at the international community. It can appoint officials besides prime minister. The one official he cannot appoint is the prime minister. That's a job of the Congress, because the president's not voted in by the people, and the prime minister must be responsible to the people. Clear? The president gives state honors, and the president can be the leader of the Territorial Defense Force if it should be applicable, and we hope it never will. So at the end of this presentation, let's talk about some exciting developments. First of all, you know the blockchain, you vote using it, but you probably don't know that we're going to the EVM, which means we're going to conform to the Ethereum standard. We're now Polkadot standard. We're going to Substrate. We're going to be Ethereum standard. We're not going to leave the Substrate technology, but we're going to be fully compatible with respect to smart contracts and with respect to wallets with the EVM standard, which will give us more security because it's a standard used by the majority of the blockchain world. Those who don't know what I'm talking about, we're going to be more interoperable and safer. And we're going to be on something called a MetaMask, which you probably are using. And you can't use it for Liberland blockchain now, but soon you will. And it's a very user-friendly and very, very often used wallet. Did you know that you can gain passive income on the blockchain? You can gain it natively by staking, and that doesn't change, by the way, with the EVM change. And you can also get it by farming tokens on Ethereum, Solana, and Tron. That's if you bridge them. Everything is in our documentation at docs.liberland.org. Last but not least, we have an app, which is not per se a blockchain app. It is an app on the phone. It will be soon connected to the blockchain in some ways, but we're still working on that. Right now, however, it is Uber for everything. And it is your way how to interact with your government on your phone. The one-stop shop. You can also chat with each other, see news, and much more. I will just highlight a few functions, and then we can continue with the rest of the program. You can right now post a job in the whole Liberland community. And if you do that, everybody's going to see it. And those who feel like they like the offer can bid. You can choose the one who bids, and then you're bound to pay them if they finish the job for you. You can see news from Liberland straight in your mobile phone. Don't forget to turn off your notifications. And you have a chat where you can talk with your friends in a purely Liberland environment. You both have to be in the app. And you can even see each other on the map, but the map's not made to spy on you, so it's only if you allow it. And the default settings is off. So if you want to use this as a sort of live 360, you and your partners have to both consciously agree with that. Otherwise, it's not going to work because we value your privacy. And this is where I would like to end the presentation. This is a QR code which leads to liberland.org, which you know. So I will close this down and will give the word to the moderator, Tom Walls. Thank you for listening to this presentation. And I'd like to get back to...
Yeah. Thank you, Michael. And since Thomas is not responding right now, I will take over the moderator role.
I'm here.
Okay, great to have you, Thomas. Okay.
Okay.
Then go ahead, and I would start really with Justin because it's late for him, and I would really like to give him the floor. I've been in Hong Kong actually 5 days ago. We met with Stephen, his right hand, and we are pushing forward multiple projects together. But let's just hear Justin's vision for the next 3 months of Liberland. And thank you again, Justin, for your support of the anniversary. The Tron partnership is a great thing that happened to us, as well as thank you for the hospitality that you provided again in Hong Kong. So floor is yours. Are you with us, Justin?
Yes. Thank you, Wit. So first of all, I think for the next 3 months anniversary is a very big thing for Liberland. So I personally and the Tron team also supports this anniversary. I think it will be a very big event, like all the citizens of Liberland can join together and share our visions together. I think this anniversary definitely is the top priority on the agenda of Liberland. And also, of course, myself, I will join this anniversary as well. And hopefully these events can be very successful and everybody can join together. I think that's the first thing. And then the second thing, I think Liberland blockchain development also has lots of progress, and I have our tech team to support Liberland blockchain development team on how to deliver the product, I think, in a safe and a better way. And happy to learn, right? So we are going to EVM compatible, which will get more users exposure to the infrastructure, because as we all know today, like EVM is one of the most usable protocol and standards among the whole space. If we can go EVM compatible, basically can let lots of users start to use the governance of Liberland protocol. And also, of course, my Q2 agenda is still with US. So we have lots of progress with our multiple channel with US government. And myself also plan to visit United States in Q2, probably in May. We haven't decided the day yet, but probably in May I will meet Donald Trump at that time. And of course, so if we have like any agendas we want to push with United States in for Liberland in the United States, and any relevant parties we can meet in US with Liberland agenda, we can definitely to do that. And also, of course, I think we need to continue to focus bring more students and governments and participants for Liberland as a country. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. It's great to have you kick off this historical debate. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. President, members of the Cabinet, members of and candidates for Congress, I'm Thomas Walls, Minister of Foreign Affairs. Welcome to the third candidate forum and debate as we're on the verge of our historic 10th anniversary. Your participation in both the election and your attendance here, it's a testament to your dedication in making Liberland one of the most exciting and meaningful developments on the world stage. Now, with our principles of freedom, our forward-looking vision with technology and blockchain, and a great team that we have, and our commitment to building a peaceful and respectable community that values liberty, truth, and beauty, you are part of a truly unique movement that's already changing the world. So I'll briefly go over the rules for the debate. We've already started with Prime Minister Sun and his introduction. I'll have the rest of the candidates introduce themselves. If we haven't promoted them to a panelist, let's do so now. It will be in a question and answer format. You have 2 minutes to answer. The moderator, myself, will ask you a question, and then I may ask you a follow-up question if necessary. Then we'll take selected questions from the audience if they're appropriate. Please, members of the audience, please put your question to the candidates in the question and answer Q&A section here in the Zoom chat. And each candidate will have the chance to answer those. You'll have 2 minutes to answer. If you go over time, I will have to ring the bell. And then we'll have to move on to the next candidate. So another part of the debate, candidates may ask questions of each other, or they can speak freely, of course, limited time to 2 minutes. If the candidate mentions another candidate directly, you have the right to a rebuttal, and we will give you 1 minute for the rebuttal time. So if you're not speaking, please mute yourself. Do not speak over one another. You're going to get the chance to answer eventually. The debate will remain respectful. We're all in this together. And of course, we all want to see the continued success of Liberland. And with your cooperation, we will go very far. So let's have the rest of the candidates introduce themselves. We had Prime Minister Sun already introduce himself. How about Frode Boge? Frode. 2 minutes.
Wow, that's not a small honor to jump in right after the Prime Minister. Thank you very much. I'm calling in here from Norway. Just got back, by the way, from Croatia. After being there and visiting Smilats and looking at and visit and saying hello to people down there, doing the local representation of Liberland in the day-to-day. I am 56 years old. I've been, let's say, an old dog in the local and regional politics here in Norway. So I'm quite used to finding good solutions with other members of my own party and other parties to find good solutions in the local and regional part where I'm living. I have been interested in Liberland all the way since start. I think I sent my first email to Liberland 9 days after Witt put the flag on the beach. So I've been very interested in this for the whole time, and I've been very lucky to be there in Ark in Apatin, and also in Liberland itself. I was there 6th of August. Together with Dorian and Witt Jelliska was there. Thomas Waltz was there. Navid, I think, also was there on the 6th of August, 1.5 years ago. And this process has been so much rewarding to be a part of. And now I'm looking forward to use more time to be involved. If I'm voted in as a member of Congress, I could be more involved in what is happening in Liberland. And I think the best use of me in having me in the Congress would be to be more around what's happening in Liberland locally. I'm not the crypto expert that other people are here, but I will try to be as good as I can, a factor that binds the whole things together so that the physical and the crypto world is, let's say, coming more closer together as we are one team. And we are working for the same cause. I think that's a presentation of me. I'm looking forward to the debate, the back and forth in this room. And of course, I'm looking forward to the 10-year anniversary. I'm coming for sure,
Awesome.
with friends, and looking forward
Thank
to
you so much, Frode. That was a great introduction of yourself. Let's call
I was looking
on.
forward to the bell. I was waiting for the bell.
Almost. You almost got the bell, Frode.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's call on my good friend Kenny Lee. I think you've been promoted to a panelist. Let's introduce yourself, Kenny.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kenny. I've had a very fortunate opportunity to work very closely with many of the people on stage today over the past 3 months or so, as I kind of get my feet wet as a congressman for Liberland. And it's truly been an honor and a very unique experience. And so first and foremost is just thank you for everyone who gave me the opportunity to learn and try to figure out exactly where I can demonstrate most of my skills. I think during that time, I've learned a lot, and I've realized that as part of Liberland's growth, we really need to position ourselves not just as a blockchain state, for example, but more so, how do we drive that in a very user-friendly, adoption-forward manner, right? And what I mean by that is, when we think about things like the architecture around our blockchain, whether it's Polkadot, EVM based, at the end of the day, I don't want us to fall under the trap of using technology for the sake of technology, but rather using technology as an enablement to drive further adoption and growth for Liberland as a nation. And so I think like one of my areas of focus, being that I myself have been in the blockchain space for over the past decade, I specialize in understanding these types of technologies as well as understanding adoption in terms of what works in this space, what doesn't. And I think I would love to continue to do my work as a congressman to drive efforts there. Furthermore, I'm also located in the United States. I was at the inauguration representing Liberland alongside many of the colleagues here today, and had an opportunity to start building relationships with some of the senators, governors, former governors, et cetera, that I think could lead to very good sort of long-term stances on behalf of Liberland. And so would love to continue driving there as well. And like I said, right, doing congressman for about 3 months, so still got a lot to learn, still got a lot to do, and I'm really looking forward to trying to figure that all out alongside everyone and being as helpful and productive as I can. And congratulations as well to Liberland and its 10-year anniversary. That's quite a milestone, and I think this is only the beginning, and so really excited to help how I can.
Perfect. Great introduction, Kenny. Thank you so much. Excellent. All right. We're going to call on Mr. Patrick Bonek, who's been involved in the settlement and many other things. So, Patrick, can you please introduce yourself?
You're muted.
Sorry, I was looking for the unmute button.
Okay, there you go. All right.
Yeah, I'm
Take it
Patrick
away.
Bonek. Thank you. I'm Croatian. I've been involved for over a year, maybe 2 years now. And yeah, I've met a lot of people, and I've mostly been like dealing with the community on the ground and like helping however I can. I'm the author of Evolutionary Libertarianism and a blog page where I write about the community of Liberland from a critical social science perspective, and how power and incentives have shaped within like the settlement project. And yeah, that's basically like what I do. That's basically who I am. So I don't have anything else to add. Yeah, I'm 28 years old. I'm a libertarian, and yeah, I'm just hoping to see the project succeed. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Hvala lepo. Okay, let's call on another person from the great Republic of Croatia, Dorian Stern. Let's have you on board. Thank you. Thank you, Patrick.
So I've been a congressman since the beginning of the Congress. My promise for the last term was that Liberland up until now has been running more or less as a startup, as it had no other choice. And I believe that right now is a transition period that we start behaving and operating like a real country and move away from the startup mentality. In the last 3 months, we have achieved some steps in that direction. For example, a higher percentage of all expenses and decisions are fully transparent and on-chain with, you can see both what has been done and the decision process behind it. So for example, if you go to blockchain.liberland.org, you can see all the government finances. Well, not all for now, it's between 30 and 50%, but it's 30 or 50% more than it has been before. My priority for the next 3 months would be to establish rules for private initiatives to work to further the cause of Liberland. So, for example, the standard way that somebody wishes to contribute to Liberland is they hear about Liberland, they come to VIT, they talk, and they say, I want to contribute to Liberland. Here, VIT, I will donate this amount to the government, and you do what you want with this, which is fine. It has worked as a startup so far. But we are a libertarian country, and it's a bit, against our ideology to continue having all of this done through the government, especially now that we have thriving private businesses and private settlements. And my priority is to set up the rules for rewarding contributions from outside donations to flow into private initiatives.
Okay, thank you, Dorian. Great introduction. All right, next I'm going to call on Navid Sabrin, who's a member of the Congress as well as the Minister of Finance. Take it away, Navid.
Thank you, Tom. I have a confession to make. I've been running in circles like a headless chicken, and if VIT had not messaged me 10 minutes before this call, I would probably have forgotten about it. And I wasn't even aware that I was running for Congress. I believe I am. And here's the thing, maybe wondering why I'm here. I've been involved with Liberland pretty much for the past 5 or 6 years of my life, and I've had the pleasure of serving as Minister of Finance. But to be really honest, I have, well, besides my family and my kids, obviously, I have 2 obsessions in my life. One being Bitcoin, as many people who know me will confirm, and the other one is really this obsessive search of like, I'm obsessed with the word meaningful, to do what is meaningful. And when I met Peter and yourself, Thomas, first, and then VIT, I just thought, this is it. This is meaningful. And to a point that, and I'm a very extreme person, that I decided to drop everything else. I closed my businesses, and I've just been a part of this amazing story. But I'm also very, very introvert, and like, I just want to be left alone. And the more I'm trying to step away from stuff, the more I find myself involved, which is the irony of when you try to make your life meaningful. So the last thing I ever want to do is campaign for office, run for office. But for some reason, I'm still here because this is truly meaningful. So the value that I can and want to add to Liberland is, I'm going to die on this hill if I have to, because this is the one thing that really makes sense, whether I can do it as a member of the cabinet or member with the Ministry of Finance or in Congress. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. And but don't run for me. I don't like to run for office anyways, but for some reason, that's the thing. I try to pull away the more I'm involved, and that's the beautiful thing about searching what's meaningful.
Well, great. Thank you, Navid. Well, you could always hire a campaign manager and a campaign staff to do all the work for you.
Maybe I should do that.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Navid. I'm going to call next on Michal Chekai, or Michael Waite, as he's known by his Zoom handle. Michal, please introduce yourself. Do we have Michal on the panelist list? He's in the attendees list.
Please, Mike, accept your promotion. You have been given it for 3 times already. 4.
If not, we can go ahead. If Mr. Ivan Pernar is on the attendee list, has he been sent the invitation to become a panelist?
Yes.
Okay. but neither one has accepted yet.
Ivan will be rejoining.
Okay. Ivan's on the list. Ivan, introduce yourself.
Elections, I wouldn't say. And
I'm sorry, Ivan, we lost. I hear you now, but we lost the first 5 or 10 seconds. So start again,
Sorry.
please.
I'm sorry. I wanted to say that since the last elections, nothing spectacular changed, and it's more or less going in some slow path. Only thing I would like to outline as a very positive event was this introduction of LLDs, and I think that's the major success we had so far. And of course, good thing is anniversary, but a part of that, I don't know. I'm optimistic because I like the team. I like the idea which gathered us. But as Minister of Interior, I wouldn't say I have many responsibilities in that sense. And but I don't complain. I like to cooperate, and that's it.
We're very excited, Ivan, that you're coming with so many good people to anniversary, and we are looking forward to have you. If you want to, of course, get more responsibilities, you're always welcome. And Evan, by the way, Evan Lutra has joined us. Also, he was a little bit busy, but he is in. So please, if you can promote him to panelist right now, so he could share his message, as he is also running again for Congress.
Evan is here
And of
with
course,
us.
Evan has been very fundamental in many ways. Well, both Ivan Pernar, which of course has a great following in Croatia, which is very important. Evan Lutra is a big global influencer, and his presence in Liberland Congress has been very useful. Our last picture with Kalin, the candidate for the president in Romania, has more than 380,000 likes. So he's been very good in spreading the message about Liberland. We really enjoy having him on board. And he has been just in Argentina. He made some major steps, but let him just share the news with us.
Go for it.
As Vic was saying, I've been working towards Liberland now for 6 months in this role and been very, very happy to see the progress I've been able to make. I was just now in Argentina with the foreign minister, Diana Mondino, and was talking to her, and we convinced her almost to come join us as a Liberland and our foreign minister here. And generally speaking, I've been talking to everybody I talk to about Liberland. Every time I talk and share about Liberland, always is great results and great people who want to join us, want to work with us, want to support the vision of Liberland. Also, the KOL group that we have set up have 99 KOLs in there who are all really pushing the message, pushing the movement forward, and helping us on board. I think every other day I hear about at least 1 or 2 new people who want to be our citizens, who message me, and then they get up and then they're joining us, the vision of Liberland. I think that's the main thing, is getting the right type of people as part of as a group, as a citizen, and then we can get accepted and get the recognition that we need to really make the change that we stand for. I'm very excited and very bullish long term on the vision of Liberland, and hopefully can keep supporting and keep pushing the movement forward and getting as many people as possible onto our platform.
Very good. Well done, Evan. I'm so glad you could join us. We're still waiting on Michael Waite, to join the panelist list.
Yeah, I mean, from my side, guys, I appreciate everybody who voted for me and who wants me to be as part of Liberland. All I can say is from my side, I keep doing my best and I keep supporting. I love the vision of Liberland. I stand very much for the same vision and the same principles about having liberty and about having freedom. And I think we have a way to show the world how to govern and live in the best way possible. So very, very bullish long term, and hopefully please vote for me and we can keep working together.
We're really glad you're part of the team, Evan. Okay, I think that's just about everybody, but we're still waiting on Michael Waite, Michal Czekaj, our good friend from Poland. Were you able to, I don't even see him on the attendees list now. Is he on the panelist list? No. Well, we're going to move forward.
Then yeah, let's move forward. I mean, we decided to make basically these debates short, but I'm looking forward to your new way of moderating. So Thomas, go ahead.
Okay. All right. I'm just going to call on the different candidates and ask them questions. So let's start with Frode. Frode, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. Can you outline the 2 or 3 or 4 most important priorities that we should focus on as a government and a nation? Go ahead.
As a nation, we need to stand out as a promise for the future. Of course, we've done that globally for libertarian people, thinking people all over the planet. I think it's a lot of people watching us closely from afar, and are looking at the developments that are happening now with a great interest. At the same time, we need to do similar things on the local front. We need to get some more skin in the game in the local area. In Zmajavac, in Batina, we already do so in Apatin. I mean, in the Serbian side of the Danube, we are doing very well. I've done for a long time, and of course, we have started now with Vit in investing in some property in the Batina area. We have other people investing in properties in the Zmajavac area. And we have also people now that start to be in this area on the Croatian side of Danube, more on maybe not 100% of the time, but fair amount of time being spent and invested from people being there on site. And we need to activate with the local people to get to them, need to get to know us better. We could arrange some kind of meetings where we start to speak with local people, maybe local politicians, about what we are seeing in the future of Liberland. Of course, the people, locals tend to think that this is not going to happen. This is just a dream. So we need to tell them that reality happens by dreaming big dreams, and then they happen, and we are one of those dreams. And let's say we could have some kind of presentation where we are speaking about Liberland, how that will function in Baranja, which is that region of Croatia in the future, and how we will build this together with the local people, how they will be involved in what is, all that Liberland has to offer in terms of.
Very good, Frode. Okay, we're out of time.
Work.
Very good. So basically, focus on the local area and make friends and win their hearts and minds and stuff like that. And you've been there quite a bit, so that's a very good answer. Let's call on Patrick Bonek. 3 most important priorities for Liberland as a government and a nation.
3 most important priorities. Well, different aspects of the Liberland project, different structures, different organizations are going to focus on different things. And I think all of those are very important and they achieve important goals. I can only speak on in the terms of local settlement and presence of settlers. I think what we need to focus on more is to spend less effort and resources on short bursts of person commitment and replace that with a long-term investment and focus on emergent settlement, not so much just giving people a lot of rewards for staying for high commitments and just being here for 7 days and then just leaving and getting burned out. I think we should be more focused on long-term presence, just have people here, build incentives like that. And then it's just emergent. People just naturally want to do that. And I think those are the best kind of projects that have the best success chance when it happens like that. Yeah.
I totally agree. Thank you for your answer, Patrick. Let's call on Kenny Lee. What are the 3 most important priorities Liberland has as a nation, as a government? What do you think, Kenny?
Yeah, sure. So I think that Liberland, the way that I see its growth is broken out into 2 components. The first one is what we want it to be eventually. And the second one is what do we have to get accomplished today? And so within the category of what we need to get accomplished today, the 3 most important points I see from just my recent experience is 1, definitely getting recognition from other nations, because at the end of the day, this is an effort that we are trying to build not just by ourselves, because I don't think it's as simple as, claiming a state and just, calling it a day. I think there's a lot of complexity that goes into it for everyone here. Everyone's familiar with the history of all this, so I won't get into detail about that. So I do think in the short term, having recognition from other nations is going to be extremely critical for our growth. That's the first thing. Second is thinking about how we grow internally. And that is also kind of subdivided into two segments. One is how we increase our citizenship in the right manner, right? Because at the end of the day, what I think Liberland would like to have is a brand, a recognizable voice in the world where people are seeing great citizens and great contributions coming out of this nation. And so we have to think about how we do that in a very sort of methodical manner. And the second part of that is also how do we grow from a financial perspective, right? This nation is not going to grow out of thin air. It requires money, it requires contribution, it requires capital. So we have to think about it from that side as well. And I think the third thing that that Liberland needs in the short term is purely just publicity, right? I think people like Yvonne are doing such a great job on that. I think we can also tap into a lot of the crypto community, which is also very leaning towards libertarian, work more closely with them, start aligning and building the brand there. And so in the short term, those are the three sort of categories I'd see that Liberland needs.
Awesome. Let's work on that together. Great stuff, Kenny. Thank you. I'm going to call on Dorian. What should be our three biggest priorities as a government and a nation?
Yeah, so we, as I say many times, we are in this stage when we are maturing from a startup to a nation, and we need to handle that well. The first priority in my mind, and I have a bit of a different perspective because I talk to our users and customers, so to say, every day. We need better systems and we need better teams to manage them. So if you take a look at everything that Liberland is doing, Liberland is passing a minimum bar, but we should be passing a much higher bar. A lot of the day-to-day problems that we encounter would just not exist if we were better at systems and building teams. So yeah, one major component of that is, as I mentioned previously, privatization. I believe that the government is doing too much things that should be handled privately. For example, majority of the of course, the government needed to cede something regarding the settlement, but I believe the way to go forward would be privately. And the other point is a lot of our teams internally, again, could be much better. And I think the role of the government should be hiring and setting up the systems and not handling day-to-day emergencies like it is now.
Okay, great analysis of what's going on. Thank you, Dorian. Let's call on Ivan Pernar. Three most important priorities for Liberland. Ivan. Okay, we'll come back to Ivan if he's not available. Let's ask Evan Luthra. Let's see, Evan, are you there or did he leave? I think Evan had to leave. So let's call on Navid Sabrin. Give us your three most important priorities for us to work on.
Yeah, I think I'm running out of points because everything I have to agree with my colleagues here. Everything has been said. Especially, I want to reiterate what Kenny was saying. He focused a lot on recognition, and obviously, you don't become a nation just by asking nicely. I mean, you got to work on recognition. You got to be proactive. Sometimes borderline controversial, but you do need to have those dialogues. And I think the most important and foremost important thing is dialogue outside internationally, but especially, and I think that is, if you want to narrow down the three to just one main focus, is for me is Croatia. So we do need to have open doors to have dialogues in Croatia because there's a lot of misunderstanding right now. There's a lot of unwillingness to have that dialogue. And to me, that is the one and single most important kind of path to recognition, is having a constructive dialogue in Croatia.
I agree. All right, Ivan, did you come back yet? Mr. Pernar? Okay, we're going to have to move forward. Thank you, everyone, for keeping it flowing, keeping it moving good. I appreciate you keeping your answers short. That way, everybody gets to have a voice. All the audience gets to hear what you have to say. So I'm going to move on to our second question, which is kind of related to what you were just talking about, Navid, but I'm going to ask the other people. Let's see here. Let's go back to Frode. Frode, who is Liberland's most important international partner and why? Of course, Croatia is very important, and you may answer that, but how can we improve relations with them? How can we improve relations with the decision makers over on the Croatian side? How can we get through to them? Frode.
As I understand it, we have done a very good job with what I see as the most important one, which is the USA. And with the new administration over there, leaning more towards us than the previous administration. So I know for sure you guys are doing a very good job there to keep those connections very close. The second, of course, is Argentina. And I know also you have been very good at using a lot of time and having good connections down in Argentina. And those two countries might be the best, the most important outside of Europe, of course, to give us the recognition that we are seeking after. Croatia, of course, not only Zmajevac and Baranja area and the regional politicians, but in combinations with, with what is coming from the United States, we need to have our connection going and our dialogue going with Zagreb. And
okay, yes.
So that's where the magic is going to happen, I assume.
Good answer. Good answer, Frode. I agree with you. Let's call on Dorian. Dorian, who's our most important international partner and why? And maybe name a second most important one or third. Go ahead, Dorian.
I actually think that diplomacy is a bit premature, because the way I see it is, yes, we are growing fast and I see a good future for Liberland, but it is a bit as if a teenage boy that's 13-year-old sees a supermodel and decides to ask her out. Like, it's not gonna work, right? We need to grow, we need to hit the gym, we need to...
Well, it worked in your case, Dorian.
Thank you. She went to Liberland herself, yeah. Right. I mean, just look at the numbers. We are growing like 20-30% year on year, but still we have 1,000 citizens, you know, and we are talking about going to talk to the president of United States, the president of European countries, all this. This might work. I'm not saying that we should stop it. I'm just saying that we would have more success if we focus on growth first, and this is where my focus is going to be.
Great, good. Thank you, Dorian. Navid, who's our most important international partners? Who do you think, and why? You're on mute. Okay. All right.
Yep, as I mentioned earlier, Croatia obviously is the #1 dialogue for me, but let's not underestimate all the, and I've heard, I mean, even right now, our Secretary of State is in Antigua right now. He's running around, he's been tirelessly, literally, and that's all happening behind the scenes, you know, it's not necessarily screamed after hilltops, but those efforts, you know, with smaller, and I even heard people in our own circle use words like, oh, these are little asshole nations, you know, which is completely, I think, a misguided way of thinking. We should not underestimate every single dialogue that we managed to have, and they're very constructive, and they really end up becoming a snowball effect, you know. And I respectfully disagree with Dorian. I don't believe we are too young and too early to chase after the supermodels, because we are making the rules. You're building a new country, and who says that 13-year-olds cannot go date supermodels? I mean, we're building the newest, the hottest nation on the planet, and we are ready to talk, and we should continue pushing those efforts.
Okay, great. Thank you, Navid. I like your attitude. Let's hear from Patrick on our most important international partners.
Sure. So I agree with Frode that having the new US administration and Argentina on our side is very cool. I'm very optimistic for this. I also think that we might be ignoring the big question, which is like, what is like the only organization that's actually stopping Liberland from being as successful as it could be, and who has the power in that organization? I think that's the big question that should be more focused on. And if we look at it, it's Croatia and Croatian local authorities, Croatian higher authorities, and those are the people we need to kind of sway. So mostly, I mean, if we're honest with ourselves. So yeah, I think that should be something we could focus on a bit more. Yeah.
We can do that, and I think you can help us out there. All right, thank you, Patrick. Let's hear from Kenny on this question. Our most important international partners. You mentioned the US already, and that's something we can work on, but let's talk a little bit about that, Kenny. Most important international.
So I think definitely we're all in agreement right now. It seems to some level that the U.S. is probably standing out as the most strategic partner that we can have. And I do agree with Dorian that we are still a teenager, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be having these conversations, because I think at the end of the day, it's less important about us necessarily getting in front of the United States or the Middle East or Asia or wherever we want to be, but more important to understand what are their interests in what we're doing, right? And these interests may not necessarily come from the fact that we're building a libertarian state on the right next to the Danube. I don't know if that's what would get Donald Trump excited at night, right? But at the end of the day, we need to understand exactly what gets him excited and what gets other world leaders excited, to know who we want to align with at the end of the day. I agree, it's very early to say who we want to align with right now, especially in the macro sort of perspective. Everything's in turmoil, everything's unpredictable. And so I would be a bit conservative in making a decision on who we go with. But I would say that we need to be having conversations with all of these nations, right? Especially, looking at the Middle East, looking at UAE, looking at China, looking at Korea, Japan, right? These are all stretch goals, as entrepreneurs would say. But we need to understand what are their asks from us and start doing those side quests as well, in order to start hitting all those check marks, so that at the end of the day, we can eliminate all the no's from everyone who wants to work with us, so that we can get directly to that yes.
I agree, Kenny. And diplomacy, which is what we do, consists of understanding the other side's or another side's position and their interests, and speaking to it. So that's exactly what we need to do. And diplomacy is also, of course, coming to an agreement where there was none before. And of course, with the major partners that everyone has mentioned already, I think we definitely have our focus on the right track. We just need to do it in a more coordinated and systematic way. So thank you, Kenny. We'll be working together on that. Ivan, are you back? Do you hear us? Ivan, is your phone stuck, Ivan Pernar?
Let's not push Vervan anymore. He will probably tell us if he joins us. And
okay, no problem.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
We will discuss with him if he's running or not. Actually, eventually, we'll probably keep his position as Minister of Interior, and hopefully he will push a couple more things forward with Croatia. And again, I'm very excited about the people that he's bringing with him for the anniversary.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm going to ask another question and let everybody answer it. This question is, what's your vision for Liberland in 5 years or in 10 years or even beyond that? So maybe I can ask you to think about how we can develop our economic, our social, diplomatic, technological facilities and faculties. What's your vision for the next 5 to 10 years? Frode.
Wow. Just to be the first speaker on that topic, it's a big one. In 5 years, we have gotten out to the world with a message to world leaders around the world to make sure supporting Liberland to be this political test laboratory, how to test out direct democracy / meritocracy, and how that will work, because we will sell this as a product to all the leaders around the world. People are getting sick and tired of big governments now. That's everywhere, especially in the Western world. And we will be the test laboratory where we are testing small government, and we will show the world how that actually works. In 5 years, we will be able to do that. In 5 years, they will see that actually it's possible to run a more sufficient government, and people will be much more involved in the political process, and things will be running more smoothly. And in the new time, with the new technology and new currency, Liberland will lead the way. So that's my
Good. Very good, Fred. I totally agree with you. Kenny, what's your vision for Liberland 5, 10 years down the road?
Yeah, so good question. I think when it comes to government, things tend to move a little bit slower than originally anticipated. So I can't say exactly that this would be 5 or 10 years down the road or what part of that spectrum it falls under. But for myself, right, like what I see Liberland as symbolically around the world is an amazing case study and an amazing sort of leader in demonstrating to the entire world how 21st century government can be run. And the reality is that Liberland itself physically is not a very large space, but I don't think that will hopefully limit us to the citizens and the talent and the economic activity that we're going to be able to produce 5 to 10 years from now, or wherever that may lay. And I think that's going to be a testament to exactly how the world will operate in 5 to 10 years, whether we're at that point or not. Because right now, we already see this movement towards more of like a digital nomad, accessible anywhere 24/7, building around the world, having this sort of decentralized movement towards building different sort of innovations that we already see contributing to the world. I think Liberland can be the first sort of government that fosters that type of innovation. And that's the sort of, I think, nation I'd like to see that doesn't just represent one small area within Europe, but also a representative of citizens all around the world who have diverse talents.
That's true. We definitely want to be a role model in so many areas for the rest of the world. And I think we do have that innovative spark that makes it possible. And we've accomplished that in many areas. So anyway, all right, let's ask the same question of a few others and we'll move on. Hey, Patrick, what do you think Liberland can look like in 5 to 10 years? What's your vision, Patrick?
To me, I don't know. I just think that this is like a great process of experimentation where almost anything is possible that the legacy governments have been blocking for a very long time. And there's like a huge potential that's about to be unleashed. So I don't think anyone can know what's going to happen if we are successful within that period. But yeah, I think it could be a great free, prospering society with all kinds of new technologies and companies and the new interesting things that no one has ever seen yet.
Yeah, that's true. Nobody can really actually predict the future with precise accuracy. I mean, we might be able to see where trends are going and stuff and kind of influence that a little bit. And I think we definitely have the open, creative mind and mental resources to do that. So let's see who else is. Dorian, what do you see us going in 5 to 10 years? What's your vision on what it could be like?
So I believe that the idea of Liberland will be doing much better than it is doing today. Ironically, hostility from governments cannot really kill us, but what could kill it is, for example, if Trump decides to go through with the Freedom Cities initiative, and instead of people joining Liberland, they just join a Freedom City. But even though that would be bad for Liberland, that would be good for the idea of Liberland, because we won just in a different way. In that same sense, I see us growing our global network with, especially with other such projects, special economic zones, free trade zones, and having a stronger presence there, growing our economical might, and establishing a settlement that cannot physically be removed.
Right. Okay. Let me ask you a follow-up question on that, Dorian. How do you see our relations with Croatia and Serbia in 5 or 10 years? What do you think about that? Have you imagine what it could be like if
Yeah,
things?
I think we just need to be ready, and we need to be in shape to take advantage of the opportunities that present themselves. Because right now, what is going to happen in 5 years? Will European Union federate? Will it fall apart? Will there be a nuclear war? What is the government going to be in Europe? Serbia? Will Serbia join the EU? Like all of these questions have both the downsides and opportunities for us, and we just need to be ready to take the opportunity when it comes up. So, for example, right now it is relatively cheap to build our relationships with the opposition parties in Croatia, which can be in power in 4 years. So this kind of long-term thinking, like we should take things that are cheap now that have outsized return on investment in 5 years. So, for example, lobbying opposition parties or stuff like that. The problem that we have with Croatia, we don't actually have a problem with Croatian politicians. I talked to a dozen Croatian politicians, and they all, I mean, they think Liberland is interesting or a bit crazy, but in the end, they don't care, right? They don't hate us. There is one organization that has a problem with us, and it has a problem with us because it's just an organization that's like conservative. It's the Ministry of Interior and intelligence agencies. But if the government changes, the politicians don't hate us, you know. A change of the government could just solve all our problems.
That's true. And of course, we've had interesting dialogue with President Zoran Milanovic, who's of a different party, but still he's the president of Croatia. And that's a very interesting relationship. And I think you might have a good point about working with some of the opposition parties. Of course, as Ivan can attest to, they come and go, but they're definitely there, and there'll always be a changing palette. And of course, I think we can also approach not only the members of the Sabor in the national parliament, but also the regional ones too. I think that'll help out a lot. Navid, I think we haven't.
Just to connect, like trying to talk to the current prime minister of Croatia is trying to talk to the supermodel, right? But
Yeah.
we can talk to the bosses of the parties, for example, especially opposition parties. And we should take those opportunities when we have them.
Good point. Navid, let's hear from you on what things could look like in 5 to 10 years. How do you see commerce and people going in and out of Liberland with vis-a-vis Croatia and Serbia, and maybe even Hungary and other places? What do you think? What do you think it could look like?
Oh boy, 5 years, 5 to 10 years is an eternity. I mean, we are barely 10 years old. I mean, we're 10 in about 2 weeks. So this is like literally the sky is the limit, because, and especially as Dorian says, politics. I mean, the only thing hurdle in our way really right now, preventing a reality where we have a mini Dubai sitting there in Gornia Siga in 5 years' time, because these things go very fast, as we've seen in places like Dubai or China. Like cities literally can pop up like mushrooms. So it's only dialogue that's in the way. And as Dorian said, governments change, attitudes change, or like individual politicians maybe like, as I say, may find this, they may see the win-win situation. It's just policy, and that can change from one day to the next. So 5 years from now, we really could have a mini Dubai there already. And One thing that, as you mentioned, commerce now, it just came to mind, where maybe my efforts or where I could fulfill my reason for being where I am. Some of you may remember JY, who used to work closely with me, and he said something at the very beginning when I got involved with the finance side that Liberland will get recognition by stealth. You know, that was kind of the way he coined it, by strengthening the financial ecosystem of Liberland. And I thought that was a very, very interesting way of looking at it. By becoming financially a viable player in the international market, recognition follows. Because as our dear Vice President Bogie loves to say, and I love it how he says, money talks, bullshit walks, you know. And once you are financially also a viable, strong player, it can open doors beyond what we can imagine right now.
Great, thank you, Navi. I'm looking very briefly at the Q&A, and at least two people have said that the candidate should indicate their name on the Liberland blockchain so they could be voted for, because sometimes there's some confusion. Is this name, how is it connected to the person? Sometimes you don't know who's who. So if all the current candidates who are online right now could go into the chat and just put what their name is on the Liberland blockchain when you see the voting list, just go ahead and do that. That would certainly help your chances of getting some votes. So anyway, I have two more questions for the panelists, for the candidates, and then we can look at some of the audience questions, and you can also ask questions of each other. We don't want to go on too long with this. I think we're doing a good job of keeping the flow going. My two questions are, and let's start again from the beginning. Tell me who some of your favorite thinkers and writers are, or role models, and how they influenced you in your philosophy. Let me just, I think I made a little bit of an oversight. Of course, Michal Potocnik, our Minister of Justice, is also a member of Congress, if I'm not mistaken. And just I'd like to bring him in. And I apologize for not including you in the original debate questions, but I'll give you the opportunity to answer the last question. Michal, what do you think, what's your vision for Liberland in the next 5 to 10 years? What do you think we can realistically accomplish, Michal?
Well, that depends on what we do, right? Like if the blockchain is successful, we get capital. If we have capital, money walks and so on, then we can do the diplomatic route, and we can go for the recognition by stealth, or rather by like connivence, like to be able to find the modus vivendi with the organs in Croatia, despite whatever conservatism they may harbor, and therefore whatever animosity they may harbor. That requires money, that requires us to bring something on the table. There are several things which we could bring on the table. Some of those I don't want to talk about because I don't want to disturb ongoing processes. But obviously, like if you come in with some kind of an investment partner, with an investment package, with realistic funds, listed companies, and so on, then you'll be taken more seriously, even if you're Liberland, right? Like that's very clear. And you could do that in various ways. I'm not going to give anybody ideas how to stop us. So that would be one way how we could get to at least a settlement. But it could be the Dubai, right? Like 5 years is enough to build a Dubai if we start tomorrow. Now the question is, can we start tomorrow? No, probably not. But that depends, right? Like if we should get sufficient support from people who could easily bankroll this, or if the Liberland blockchain gets to be successful enough so that we can bankroll it using resources. From that, I mean that there will be a lot of builders who will generate traffic, and that traffic will translate into value. So we need builders, right? Then we can get somewhere. And that also brings me to what I would have answered otherwise. Like we need builders on chain. We need professionals in Croatia, in Zagreb, to be doing the slow diplomatic like lockstep. We need to not give up, even though the obvious options don't show themselves as realistic. We need to use the non-obvious ones. We need to have the dialogue, and we need to do the other thing which I can talk about. That has to do with your resort, Thomas. I'm sure you understand what that is. We need to do a lot of things. We need to be more professional, though. We need to be more an organization and less a startup, to take words from Dorian. And that's something we can start with indeed tomorrow. And we did. The anniversary is being organized the most professionally ever of any Liberland event, except for Liverpool because it's the same team here. So there we're already like breaking the ice. So let's go through that. Let's build systems. Let's set up processes. Let's not be shy of that. Big companies are this way because it works. They're not this way because they like bureaucracy for bureaucracy and they want to be inefficient. No, they understand that if you want to run an operation which wants to achieve something global, you must act that way as a organization rather than a bunch of enthusiasts. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mikael. Okay, let's get back to another question here. I think I stated it. Who's some of your favorite thinkers, your writers, or even role models? It doesn't have to be a writer. And how they influence you and your philosophy and your approach to doing things, like your involvement in Liberland. Let's go with Frode.
Yeah, thank you again. Well, you can mention some big names like JFK. You can mention Friedrich Hayek, the economist. But I would say, and I can maybe take a little spin-off from what Mikael just said just now, to run this as a really good business. And if I should name a philosopher in terms of business, it must be Jim Rohn, the late Jim Rohn from the United States, from a old farm boy from Idaho. He has some beautiful lectures about how to build an organization and a company like you build a symphony orchestra. It's so many parts and pieces that needs to move and function together with the rest of the orchestra. If not, you don't have music. You just have a mess. And that's the way we need to go forward as a business. We build this country as a company, I think.
What's that guy's name again? Jim Rohn?
Jim Rohn, yes.
Right. Okay.
You can look it up. He has a lot of nice material out there. He died in 2006. Before that, I was happy to had the honor to meet him a couple of times. He's a great philosopher, and I take a lot of nourishment from him over the years. So
very cool. Thank you, Frode. Let's move on. Patrick, give us some of your favorite thinkers, writers, role models. Let us know.
Yeah, sure. I also like Friedrich Hayek and some other two, David Friedman and Curtis Yarvin. And
Curtis Yarvin, Mencius Moldbug. Yeah,
I love his work.
I know who he is.
There's a lot of them. Like I've read a lot of them. I like Ayn Rand. I like every libertarian thinker has contributed something that interesting. So yeah, this is just the recent ones I've been following. So yeah,
good ones. Kenny, let's get Kenny back on. Who are some of your favorite thinkers, philosophers, writers, role models, people you look to for inspiration? Kenny, what do you think? Let us know.
Yeah, so I want to preface this by saying, thinking about this question, I realize like a lot of these sort of thinkers, role models that I look up to, respect, have this unifying theme of not just creativity, but critical thinking, thinking about how to break foundations and build everything from scratch in a different manner. So commonly referred to as like first principles. And so from that sort of bucket, also Ayn Rand, Patrick, so seems like we have same sort of philosopher there or author, and Aristotle as well. And the third, obviously a little bit cliche, but also my father. I think that everyone is a product of their childhood. And as a result, right, like you can't really discredit any bigger influence on you than probably your parents. But regardless, right, I think all three, what they have in common is this idea of building everything from the foundation and thinking differently. And I think that's exactly what a nation like Liberland needs, because we have this opportunity not just to build, another sort of Dubai, which I think that's an amazing idea, but also, what should Dubai look like in 2030? Because in 2030, Dubai is still going to look like what it looked like in 2020, right? But it could be vastly different. So what does that look like, and how do we build from there? I think that's extremely critical to think uniquely, and that's the opportunity we have.
Outstanding. And anyone who has a father that has inspired them, that's certainly very lucky a situation to be in. So thank you for sharing that.
Or mother.
Yes, and mother, you only have one, so honor your mother and father, and to draw inspiration from them. It's truly lucky, and they passed on something to us, and we got to do them right by doing our best. And I think we're doing that. So, all right, thank you, Kenny. Appreciate it. Hey, Dorian, what do you think? Who's influenced your outlook, your work, your approach to things, Dorian?
So one of the quotes that's around my mind in the last few months is one from Javier Milei, and it goes like this: "You cannot give shit leftists an inch because they will use it to kill you." A lot of us are libertarians because we just want to be left alone. But at some point you realize you are never going to be left alone, and then you become something else. I truly believe that in Liberland we can build a libertarian paradise. But I am getting more black-pilled on this mentality that the rest of the world will be, for a period, run by warlords.
Well, I think the one thing that might be a consolation is that the other side, the bad guys, they're not sending their best. So, some people like to refer to themselves as white-pilled, meaning they're very optimistic, as we saw when the Soviet Union fell. It was in power for a long time, but it eventually crumbled. So, and it eventually gave in to people just not putting up with it anymore. So things like that rise and fall. I think we can be optimistic in the long run. Of course, there's short-term setbacks here and there, but we do what we can. So let me ask Navid, who are your most influential thinkers and writers and role models?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm looking at my books now and see there's so many amazing thinkers and writers, but if I have to narrow it down, I think especially my teenage years were very much influenced by a French writer and philosopher, Albert Camus.
Ah, Camus, yes, L'étranger.
Yeah, so he's been a big influence on my life. Probably the biggest financial influence in my financial education is probably J. Edward Griffin with his Creature from Jekyll Island.
Yes.
But at the risk of sounding really, really very, very cliche now, I have to say Satoshi, whoever they or he is, because it really has influenced my life because I've been living this in an extreme way, and it's really literally influencing my life every single day. So it sounds very cliche, but I'll have to put him up there.
All right, great answers, Navid. Thank you, and I certainly share a lot of that influence as well. Michal Potocnik, who are your some of favorite thinkers, favorite philosophers? What would you say, Michal?
That's complicated. I mean, I like people I disagree with. So,
Yeah.
for instance, Ayn Rand, I'm totally not an objectivist, but I disagree with her. She has many great points, and I love to disagree with her, like stuff like that. Also, Murray Rothbard, I'm no UNCAP, but I like many things which he says, even though I can disagree with him on many things.
Sure.
But like he was a smart guy, I like that, and I would like to. So there would be more like this. I would like to also, with all the humbleness. I mean, I've probably also created like parts of my worldview myself. But what like I would like to highlight Dorian's message of the black pill. Like I understand what he means, and it's kind of becoming a thing that's evident that people can't, on the freedom side, so to say, they can't agree on what they want. Because, and like I would disagree here with Dorian also, because like it's not about the traditional coordination, like, hey, let's go vote, hey, let's go. No, it's just about like agreeing on what you actually want as the end goal. and agreeing on like that there are certain things which certain red lines over which you don't want to go. People just don't understand that, and so we're running through chaos, through like being divided in what we want, in what we think that the ideal world would look like. We're running into having no influence, because part of the freedom community is in effect saying that we should go back to 1930s. Part would say that we should go even further back. Part would say that we should go into some other snapshot of the past or some future that never happened. This is for me most troubling. And again, like when you have people with nuclear weapons, yeah, it's just not on the other side. It's stopping being a game. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. We need to add certainly a realist understanding of the world around us. But I agree with you on those writers. Rothbard, whom I actually met a couple of times back in the 90s, he was a great writer and very entertaining writer, but he was all over the map. And he changed his positions on many different things over the years. For example, in 1992, I think he endorsed 4 different presidential candidates in the US. He endorsed Pat Buchanan, which was great. He endorsed Ross Perot. And I think he finally ended up endorsing George Bush in the 1992 election. So Rothbard himself, the ANCAP godhead, was all over the map. I'm actually bringing Rothbard and a few other, Hayek and a few other books to the Liberland Library at the ARC. So if you're coming to the anniversary, you can see our library, which I still believe is upstairs. Anyway, is there anyone I did not ask that question to? I think we've got everyone answered that one. Let's move on. I'm going to give one more question on from my end, and then we'll look at some of the Q&A that have been posted. Now, the Danube region in Liberland, where Liberland is located, it has tremendous natural beauty. It's undoubtedly part of its unique selling point. They call it the Amazon of Europe. And I've been, and many of you have been, hiking and biking and present out there in the wilderness, and it's really beautiful. It's a little harsh during the winter, but what do you think we could do to preserve and protect the natural beauty of this area so we and future generations can treasure it like we can do now? So let's start with Frode. You're a captain you're on the water quite often, and you get to see quite a bit of the natural beauty. So Frode, how can we preserve that for future generations?
Yeah, the first time and the only time I was a riverboat captain. That was for 1.5 years ago on the Danube and in Liberland. It was quite amazing, and it's a challenging place to drive a boat occasionally. Sometimes the currents are very, very strong, and sometimes the water goes down, and not to mention goes up extremely high up. So it's a demanding place to start a country in the physical terms. Also, as you say, it's a beautiful country in terms of nature. We have the wild pigs. Everybody was telling us that the wild pigs were very, very dangerous. They have, I don't think we have any wild pig incidents. No. So far, so good. Let's see if we can live in harmony with the pigs and the shackles and what more do we have? We have some deer.
The deer are huge. I saw bigger than a horse in Liberland. Yeah.
So it's it's like it is the Amazon of Europe. And so what are we going to do? Let's say we have thumbs up all over the world to build this country. Are we going to make it a natural habitat to live in wooden huts around the area? Or are we going to make this huge, this modern city that, the contest that was won by these architects in London also looks very cool. But some way down the line, we need to make some decisions because it's very hard to combine the two on such a small piece of land. So I would say I like nature very much, I must admit. And as Kenny Lee is saying, we doesn't need to be living like hundreds of thousands of people on this very small piece of land. We will be Liberlanders all over the world, organized by Liberland in this small patch of land. So maybe we could have a very natural small habitat in harmony with nature.
Good
So
points.
so
Good
far I go
points.
with that.
I think so. And when you're forward looking and when you use technology in a very good way, and I think we've got a lot of innovative people who are helping us out, you can achieve that, to have both the beauty and the high tech. Yeah.
Yeah, and also one more thing, the Baranians, the people of the river, they love the nature of Gornja Siga, as they call it today, and I think they will be very happy if we just build on what is already there from nature, and that we are living with nature and don't do anything too drastic on the area.
And we can rely on the local knowledge to help us, guide us. So let's go to Patrick. What do you think? Liberland is an area which is tremendous natural beauty. What can we do to keep it beautiful? Patrick.
Yes, so for sure, one of the things could be open architecture and the building that integrates with the nature and emphasizes it rather than just destroys it, right? And there could also be private parks and things like that. We could just use privatizations and have entrepreneurs be incentivized to maintain nature, and I'm sure there will be a demand for that. So, but yeah, other than that, I mean, yeah, it's nice as long as there's no mosquitoes.
I don't think anybody likes the mosquitoes. So, okay, great. I like your point about incentivization. I think that's very important. And I think I've done a little bit of work on coming up with incentives to preserve that in a way that, both meets people's needs and, allows for beauty to be created. I think the more affluent a society is, the more it can afford to create or maintain things of beauty. And you could see that in real world examples. So maybe Kenny, if you're with us, maybe you could address on how we can preserve the natural beauty of the region. That's really an amazing place. And that's why they take cruises down the Danube River, because it's just so beautiful. Kenny, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day is maybe this might sound a little harsh or controversial, but it's not my decision whether or not we preserve the natural beauty of Liberland and its environment, right? At the end of the day, it's the responsibility of all of the citizens, and collectively we need to decide whether or not this is the route we want to go, whether or not we want to go a high-tech route that has no compromise, or somewhere in between. In the event that we do decide to go on the route of, protecting the environment, which I am very much for, there are a lot of creative ways to do this, right? Like as Frode mentioned about what I mentioned earlier, one of the options is that we create more of a dispersed nation. And the dispersed nation doesn't just mean that our citizens are living everywhere around the world, but how do we support their living all around the world, right? Because physically, within Liberland itself, there's only a small area of space that we can jam 100,000 people, 1 million people into. And that's probably not what we want to do. And so the question now is, how can we build potentially satellite villages, satellite communities in other nations that cooperate with us, that recognize us? And, this is probably another one of those factors in the 5 to 10 year vision that we were discussing earlier. But I think that can be a very adaptive 21st century strategy that shows a globalized nation while also preserving the environmental sanctity of what Liberland has currently.
Great, I agree with that. And I think I'll go to Navid with my next question, because we've talked about an airport or an airstrip in Liberland. And there's a clearing in the south central part of Liberland, which would be a great space for landing light planes. I personally don't think we need an international airport there, but we could certainly have a landing strip where we could bring light aircraft, helicopters, and things like that. And for longer haul stuff, I mean, the Osijek airport is very close by. Belgrade and Budapest and Zagreb are also not too far away too. So for international flights, I think with jets, I think we could rely on those airports, while we could have a small, modest landing strip in Liberland itself. So Navid, what do you think we could do to preserve that treasure that we have right there on the Danube River? Navid.
Well, they say you cannot have the cake and eat it, right? And eat the cake and have it. Yeah, it's the other way around. So it's either as was just said, we have this ultra-modern Hadid vision, or we had this other, we had a number of incredible designs. I think it goes all the way back to 2016 even, when we had this big architectural competition, and a lot of these proposed designs integrate almost all of the nature of Liberland Preserve. So with the technology we have, as you mentioned yourself, there's so much possible right now. The question is just how much of the cake do you want to eat, and how much do you want to actually have. So I think there's a lot of room for compromise, and I'm also a very, very strong believer with the concept that Kenny also brought up about Liberland being more than just a physical place, but it's a concept. It's an idea that's extremely. I mean, it can spread like wildfire. We're a decentralized nation, and we can have Liberland literally all over the place. And Gonia Siga will always have its symbolic significance of being the heart of Liberland, but Liberland itself can be anywhere in the world.
Great, thank you. Now, Dorian, I know for a fact that you've spent a lot of time in the nature in and around Liberland. What are your comments on our discussion?
Yeah, so originally when I was in school, the teachers would teach us about jungles and how they're important and how they're beautiful. And then I actually visited the jungle, and you hear the birds, but you notice that they're not singing, they're screaming in pain. If one of the most beautiful to me national parks in Croatia is Brijuni. Like if you go to Brijuni, you will see like, wow, what amazing nature, what amazing forests. But it's actually not nature. Like Brijuni was a swamp full of disease and death, and it took decades of terraforming to make it into this beautiful, hospitable place that it is right now. Brijuni, in my mind, is actually one of the big successes of terraforming, and I kind of see Liberland in the same way. I mean, Liberland, that area, it's a forest, it's a jungle, it's a swamp. I mean, I like forests. I really don't like jungles and swamps. And it is a relatively small area that is unique in the world. I recognize the importance of national parks. I think Croatia should have it. I think America should have it. But I don't think we have that luxury that preserving the forest that's exactly on our 7 square kilometers should be a priority. I think when we build up the city, the nation of Liberland, it will have a lot of beautiful parts because we will make them beautiful. Just preserving the mosquitoes, I don't see a huge point in doing that in Liberland.
Well, with the treehouse project, there's a number of reasons for that. One, to build above the water level, that the maximum height of the water. And of course, it's a fairly, lightweight method of construction, and it's something we can get up quickly. So we'll see how that does. And if it sticks, I think we could have a great treehouse type settlement. I believe the Italian architect, Sergio Bianchi, will be joining us at the anniversary, and he has designed some amazing stuff. And even more recently, both for all of Liberland and individual projects. And he also did the Liberland Hotel, which we have a video on, which we could, possibly put in the southern end of Liberland. And he does incorporate beautiful aspects of nature. And he has other videos that he's made for Liberland. He has a video called The Liberland Seed, which is on YouTube. So I think that's enough of my questions. There's a couple questions I noticed in the Q&A, and we'll be wrapping up pretty soon. I appreciate everybody's participation and keeping the conversation flowing. Our good friend Greg Shea has asked a question. He's got a couple questions. Let's see. Okay, the first one is a little fuzzy. I do see a small state in the region of historic superpower conflict. Is it feasible to aspire to a Swiss-like posture? Very interesting. That would be neutrality and peace, and not having a large standing army, I believe. So is the success of Swiss neutrality more due to its lofty elevation and thus being able to keep above the fray? Well, I'd say the answer is a little more complicated. And of course, Greg, we can discuss that more in detail when you come to the anniversary. But let's talk about that, security and geopolitics. What is Liberland's position in relation between great powers? Of course, we're a smaller nation, but how do we deal with NATO? How do we deal with Serbia and its ties to Russia or any other power interests? How do we deal with China as a rising geopolitical force and economic force? What are your thoughts on geopolitical questions? Let's start with Frode.
I guess being pragmatic.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we will just need to be like the old city-state of Dubrovnik, being the master of diplomacy, and be good at mastering the communication with all sides. Remember, that was a city-state that never was attacked, neither by Turks or Venetians. I know Thomas knows this story very well, I think, and we will be such kind of nation, and we will not take, hard stances. We will be focused on what is our project, which is small government and liberty, and these things that we know everybody here in this room. But our level of communication must be pragmatic and to the at the highest level in the world. We will be the world champions on that field. So that must be our way.
Yeah, I think Dubrovnik, or used to be known as the Republic of Ragusa, definitely for several hundred years it maintained its independence as a city-state. And I think there's still a small movement that wants independence for them. I don't know if they'll get it with Croatia calling the shots, but they're still inspired by that. But great answer. So let's see let me call on I'll call on Kenny now. What do you think Liberland's position could be as far as geopolitics go, as far as the great powers, as far as war and peace? Could you comment a little bit on that?
Yeah, I think especially in the short term, right? Like it's not a question of, where we want to be, but rather what are the tools at our disposal, which I think severely limits us to which cards we can play. And that's why I also tend to see us more of on the Swiss strategy rather than an aggressive player in this world of geopolitics. That being said, I think it still echoes back to one of the comments I made at the beginning of this whole conversation, which was that, we need to first be having conversations with the stakeholders that we truly want involved, that we truly want as partners, that as strategic alliances moving forward. And we have to understand exactly, what they want from us, what they want from the world, and the components that we can contribute to. I think from there we can decide exactly what sort of road we want to take. But I think right now we don't really have much information about that, especially not in a geopolitical environment. So it's a bit too premature to say. But yeah, definitely don't see us having an army anytime soon.
Right. We don't even have a provision for it in our constitution to have a standing army. So yeah, I think the Swiss approach is very good from many standpoints. So let me turn to Navid. This question kind of leads me to a more specific question about our approach with both China and Taiwan. So Navid, if you could comment on what our approach could be, should be, where do you think we have certain advantages that we could pursue? Navid.
I mean, as Kenny also said, and our strength has to be in diplomacy, has to be in the finances, has to be in the areas where, we're not going to have any illusions that we're going to start building an army. Even like to give the example of, I live in a small country, Luxembourg. We do have an army, but it is even Luxembourgians make jokes about their own army, and we used to, as kids, say, well, if Belgium wanted to invade us, they would send the fire department of the neighboring city. So obviously, strength can be measured in many other ways. Look at Liechtenstein, look at San Marino. they wouldn't stand a chance when it came to actually exerting violence or physical force. So our strength is obviously in making deals, in finances, and in diplomacy.
Great. I totally agree with you. Let's move to Dorian. Dorian, what are your thoughts on our approach to the great powers and how we could be, how we could play a role in being a small but forward-looking country between the great powers?
Liberland should be neutral, but Liberlanders should not. For example, I've had these questions a lot because, for example, the Ukraine question, right? A lot of Liberlanders support materially and physically Ukraine, and a lot of other Liberlanders support Russia. And we internally discussed this, but Liberland is officially neutral. And I think it's gonna continue to be that way in the future. So of course, after we become a nation, yes, we will not have an official standing army, but what about private military corporations? Like those private military corporations could operate internationally if we have agreements with them. Those are the questions that we'll have to grapple with. But officially, as a country, Liberland should be neutral, where Liberlanders should use their resources to influence the world in whatever way they want to, even if I didn't agree with it.
I think you'll have a lot of people agree with you. Let's I'm going to ask Patrick and Mikhail to comment on this, and then we kind of have to wrap up because we're coming up on 7 o'clock Central European time. So Patrick, let's hear your answer on where should Liberland be in geopolitics.
So I agree with the other panelists. I think they answered it well. We just make it profitable to be friends with us and not give anyone reasons to attack us. And from there on, we will figure it out. I think that's a good answer, yeah.
Okay, good. Very good. Thank you, Patrick. Mikhail, where can...
Obviously, Liberland must remain neutral, sort of for selfish reasons, which is good, for reasons of being able to not anger anyone, and because we don't have the ability to follow up on that. And about Liberlanders, what they should be, I think they should be mindful of what their interests are as individuals, because we're not individualistic enough in this world, I believe. People are being bamboozled by calls that you can change something, that if you contribute to some cause, something like your time or money, that you change something, but you won't. The only thing that will happen is that you steal from yourself and from your family. In most cases, because those causes tend to be way bigger in budgets than you are. And so the next dollar, marginal utility, should rather stay with your family. That's not to say that you shouldn't support local causes which are comparable to your budget, but like global stuff, like Ukraine, like politics, like voting on any major level, that's objectively a waste of time and waste of your resources. It should be spent otherwise. And I think Liberlanders should understand this better, and they are in a unique position. I mean, if we have a city there, that we will build a society which is based on this, and then we stop wasting resources and energy, and we just we will not deal with stuff which we cannot change. We will not pretend that we can change it. That's the point. We shouldn't. We really shouldn't. This is really a moral stand, a moral neutrality.
Okay. Thank you, Mikhail. We have another question from Hossein Chalihi, whom we've been in touch with recently. Thank you for joining the chat, Hossein. His question is, what is Liberland's vision for its relationships with other micronations or microstates worldwide? There's an important distinction. We try not to refer to ourselves as a micronation because we're actually a microstate. The government itself is small, but we have so many people interested in Liberland. I think we're bigger than a micronation. But anyway, let's try to answer that question, and maybe I can have some input on that myself. Now, of course, there's another small country down the river in a similar situation to us. I thought they were a joke at first, but they're not. They're in a very similar situation to us. Verdus and a young man by the name of Daniel Jackson and a few other people have been involved in that. Of course, there's other actually existing small nations that we aspire to have good relations with. So what are our thoughts on other small countries and microstates? Navid.
I mean, any kind of contact, any relation is a win-win for everybody. Even I was going to mention Verdis, and then you brought it up. Even Verdis, who is not even, I mean, even how are you going to say it? There's no direct gain for us because they are not even. Let's say they're not even half as advanced as we are. Their struggle is like way. They still got another 10 years of struggle to even get to the point we are at. Even that relationship we should cherish and we should respect because no relationship is a wasted relationship. So whether it's a small nation or pseudo nation or wannabe nation, any friends are welcome.
Yeah, we've done a little bit of work with them as far as
Right.
boats and things like that. Daniel visited us in Apatine and we took him out on a boat ride. And I think they made some arrangement with us about a
That's
boat
right.
that,
We try
boat
to
that
share
they have.
resources, and I do talk to him also on and off on a semi-regular basis. So as I said, any contact is a good contact.
Do any other of the panelists have experience with small nations, microstates, that might be able to be a good learning experience for us? Does anybody else have any comments on those?
I just lived in Prospera. Prospera is a special economic zone in Honduras. It is this concept of special economic zone and network states has a higher chance of success but lower reward, right? In Prospera, it's great. I mean, I love it. If you haven't been there, I recommend you go visit. It's nice. For example, Prospera is a hub for biotech, and you can go there to get experimental gene therapies. But these approaches have a limit because they are still at the mercy of their host states. So Liberland goes a step further with full sovereignty. But these other special economic zones, microstates, allow us place to grow and put our ideas into action before we are ready to take that next step. So I believe that further cooperation and integration with them is important. So for example, cooperation with Prospera might get Liberland companies access to bank accounts. This is definitely something that we should do and is something that we're working on. This is just one example, but yeah, a lot of benefit can be gained by working with ideologically aligned projects like this.
Now, Dorian, is Prospera on the island of Roatan or is it on the mainland?
Roatan. Yeah, there is
Roatan.
another special economic zone, Ciudad Morazan, which is on mainland.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree that getting our foot in the door in special economic zones, free trade zones like they have in Serbia can only help us. And that goes back to what Kenny and Froda and Navid was saying. I mean, we can work on building in the area around, and it's us building it. So that increases our importance and it increases our leverage in the area. Folks, we are coming up right on 7 o'clock here. Does anybody else have anything else they'd like to say before we close? I mean, if I didn't get to some of the chat questions, I apologize for that. Wish we had longer time. The election is coming up on April 4th, if I'm not mistaken. Go ahead to blockchain.liberland.org. Make sure you're logged in and your wallet is connected and you vote for your candidates. Does anybody have any concluding thoughts or reflections that you can share with the audience?
Well, of course, this was a great debate. I think much better format than we had last time. I'm quite excited that, we don't have new candidates this time, but I think the overall quality and debate has been leveled up. And for the next elections, I'm sure we will actually have a couple former ministers from other countries, and that will be a lot of fun. So let's make sure we actually meet them during anniversary. We give them the space to present, and let's grow a little bit more on our personal as well as diplomatic side of things. And we're actually switching to the citizenship call. Michael, right? You're putting together a citizenship call where we talk a little bit more about the settlement itself. So I think whoever wants to join the join the debate on the citizenship itself. And yes, right now we do have settlers, and they're building something right now in Liberland itself, which is exciting. So I think Michael just shared in the chat the invitation link for the next call, and let's have a little bit more debate about how to actually properly establish ourselves physically in Liberland and how to coordinate this effort this upcoming season in the best possible way. And I'm looking forward to the new Congress. And thank you very much for being with us for these 2 hours.
Thanks, everyone.